We must all eat. But if we're going to do it, we have to eat well. But it's been kind of a thing because during COVID, we decided to eat what we made. We sat there and we cooked and we baked bread and we made pasta and we gathered the family around, and it was this joyous time. And then COVID came to an end and we said, oh, I guess it's back to waiting online at some fast food place, and then everybody will just eat watching TV, and that'll be the way it goes. It's no way to live, people. But there really is a question about how the trends have worked. What is it that people are moving to? And as we're seeing an increase in prices everywhere, we're seeing that inflation number continue to move. Remember that core inflation was 5.3%, still having a tremendous amount of bankers and others concerned. How are people affording the food, and what are the options that they have? Guys, you know us from Eat, Drink, Smoke. I'm Tony Katz. Good to be with you. Don't forget the new book, Let's Go Barbecue. See, there's my name. There's Fingers Malloy's name right there. If I could only say his name. We've only been partners for 4 years. It's available on Amazon.com. Let's Go Barbecue. Check it out for yourself. Let me bring in the chef, Joe Gatto, Gatto. You can actually find him on Instagram at Chef Joe Gatto, and his site. Look at that pretty picture right there. Joe Gatto's From Scratch. You can find him on Pluto TV, channel 611 over there at Pluto TV. It's good to have a chance to talk with you, Chef, because it's true. We ate at home and we had a great time eating at home. And then COVID ended, and now the question is anybody still eating at home?
I mean, yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's what I do. You know, I help people learn to cook at home, and through my show, through my radio show, through my book, you know, it's all about cooking from scratch, and that's what I do. So Tony, like when I say that, I mean, like I go as far as I can with food. So I'm hand forging my own knives. I'm pulling water out of the Atlantic and making salts. I'm making my own charcoal. You know, I'm trying to really push it as far as I can. So when I get into a teaching situation, it's very easy for me to show people how to shortcut it so they are cooking at home. I think it's a very important thing, not just from the sense that you're eating great food, but that connection that you make when you're at home and you're cooking with your family. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of history. And when you're getting to other countries, there's, you know, all the heritage and just people passing on what they've learned through the years. It's very, very important thing.
Well, we're losing a little bit of you right there, a bit of a connection issue. So we'll let you get that squared away. The cultural things matter. The cultural things matter greatly about how food connects people and grows people. It's one of the things that we discuss in our books. It's one of the things that we share constantly all the time, Chef, that the cultural connections matter greatly. I found that people, you know, to the extent you could silver lining COVID, and I'm not trying to silver lining people's health or the political aspects of it, but rather what some families got out of it was a moment to connect and reconnect with those cultural things. Nothing is more culturally connective than food.
Well, food, you know, that's what's great about food. I mean, I have such a passion for it, and it's so deeply ingrained in me and my DNA from doing it with my mom. But I mean, it really is. It's more important than people think. You can order a pizza out, and I'm sure it will be great. But to actually make a pizza at home, you're not even just creating a great meal. You're creating a great memory.
So now let's, as we see people have morphed and COVID is over and people are back to a regular life. Are you finding that people are still searching ways to do that home cook experience? Or is it okay, that phase of our life is over, and now we're back in the order from Papa John's phase? There's nothing against Papa John's. John Schnatterer, Indiana guy. Good on you. Well played.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that doing it at home is more important than anything. And it is that connection. It is that time that you're spending and learning about, I mean, you can learn about your grandmother's sauce. You can learn, you know, I get stories from my kids. I have, you know, a 5, a 10, and a 13-year-old, and they're in the kitchen with me all the time. So I feel that, yeah, the pandemic changed it a bit, but it really started people realizing that cooking at home is something that they should do.
I should do is an interesting one, right? Because do you think it's a should do because of cost? Do you think it's a should do because of health? Do you think it's a should do because of family?
Yes.
People have a hard time with that one. That cooking at
Yeah,
home is actually a much more cost beneficial thing to do, because there were some reports out there that, going out for a steak, it's actually cheaper to go out for a steak than it is to make a steak at home. I never believed it, but I saw those reports. They were out there.
of course it's not. It's so much cheaper to do things at home. To go out to eat, people are charging, you to get there. They have to pay staff. They have to pay everything else. It doesn't work that way. But doing it at home, not only are you controlling what you're eating, you're understanding what you're eating, which is a very, very important thing these days. You should know what's going in your body. Plus, you're spending time. All of those factors play in. And I'm a big believer in it. I really think you should be cooking at home a lot more than you're going out. Going out and occasionally, having a meal, everybody does that. I do that and I enjoy it. But relying on that is something that I don't think you should be doing.
Yeah,
I don't think you should be eating out, 4 times a week. It's just something I believe in, and it's something that I preach. Let it be, my shows or anything else. I really do believe that eating at home and making food is a huge thing.
Talking to Chef Joe Gatto right there, Gatto. You should check out the show that he's doing. Joe Gatto from.
I think I just dropped out.
Right there. What happened?
Oh, there we go. I dropped out for a second.
That happens all the time. We all drop out from time to time, and then we come right back to it. But you talk about pulling your own salt from the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Like, that's not cooking to people. Okay. That's fetish to people.
Which is fine. I mean, I don't expect people to go and do that, and I did it for my show, and I don't do that to make a meal. I'm not going down to the corner ocean and pulling out salt so I can, salt my water to make mozzarella. But I do make everything from scratch. I do make every meal at home, and I do, like grind my own flour and things like that. Sure. I don't expect people to do that. But what I do want people to do is realize that cooking at home isn't as hard as they think it is, that it's cheaper as well, and you're buying ingredients. I like to shop a lot, and I don't load up on ingredients a lot of times because I like to make different things all the time. But when you're cooking at home and you're getting your family involved, it's not as hard as you think. People have this overview, and I teach everything. We teach huge classes here in Boston constantly, and everything's from scratch. We're making from sushi to dumplings to pasta. We're making pizza, and we're pulling fresh mozz. And we're doing all these classes in an hour and a half. And I have a radio show on NPR where I make everything from scratch on it, and we're doing it in a half hour. So it is accessible. You just have to know how. What happens is people get stuck on recipes, and they only make those recipes, and anything outside that gets intimidating, and it's too hard, and it's too much shopping. But if you start getting a pattern down and really start doing it and digging in, I think you're going to see that it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference to sit down and have dinner. It makes a big difference to watch your kids chopping or making tortillas. We're having taco night tonight, and I've got some pulled beef going for a couple hours in a really simple, just salsa I made, and it's just braising away. And my kids, when they come back, probably in 2 hours, what's it, 3? Yeah, they'll come back around 5:15 from being outdoors playing. They'll come in, wash their hands, and we'll make tortillas together, and then we'll have taco night. I love that. I know that there's a lot of work behind it. I understand that, but I think the culture changed when the pandemic happened, and I think it changed for the better. And I think the pandemic for food was a great thing, and it was a great thing for my show too, because the pandemic came out the month it got released, so that was really helpful.
Talking to Chef Joe Gatto, you can find his work over there on his site. From Scratch, Joe Gatto's From Scratch is where you can find it. Joe Gatto's From Scratch.com. We brought up restaurants, and I get the idea that maybe going out to eat 4 times a week isn't the thing to do. Certainly, restaurant cooking is different than home cooking, levels of salt, for example, and things like that. But one of the things that we're seeing, and it's certainly affecting home cooking, is what's happening with prices. We're seeing inflation still be an issue. You had the CEO, not the CEO, the chief operating officer of Costco, say that what they're seeing is people not going for the higher cuts of beef. The more expensive, they're working with the lower cuts of beef, whether that be bottom rounds or whatever the case may be. From what your restaurateur or chef friends are telling you, how are these costs affecting restaurants? Is it affecting people going? Is it affecting what they order? Or is it affecting what the restaurants serve?
I mean, from my understanding from restaurant people, it's affecting what they're serving. That's the feedback I've been getting. And I don't own a restaurant, so I don't know, but I know that's what I'm being told, is that, they're adjusting just like the home cook, because the pricing, it affects everybody. And staying away from the higher cuts, that's okay. Using these lower cuts, I love the lower cuts. I love using chuck, brisket, things like that. I mean, they're fun. Flank used to be cheap, but it's not anymore. But that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that it's really affecting what they're putting on the menu. And hey, you got to get a little more creative. The prices are going to go up a little more, I think, and then we'll probably see a correction, just like everything else. They'll start to come back down. Eggs won't be so expensive. And, produce and chicken and things like that, I haven't seen a huge uptick in that. And I mean, I'm shopping every day. It might be different in your area, but it really hasn't been like that in Boston for me. It's the beef I've seen a lot of increase in.
Chicken's been a weird one because there was for a while an increase in chicken, and then there was for a while no chicken. And then there was just 2 weeks ago, buy one package, get 2 free.
Oh, wow. See,
so I took advantage of it. They were there on the Traeger, on the smoker, a simple rub and a little bit of barbecue sauce to keep things moist as I was rotating it. And turns out I can do chicken pretty dang well. But yeah, I take those opportunities when it's low cost. I absolutely take them, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I mean, use thighs instead of breast. Just right?
So much better. By the way, the chicken thigh is so underrated.
It's thighs are one of my favorite things. We do a taco class, and slow roasted thighs in like a salsa verde, just finished with a little rub on a homemade corn tortilla, all day.
One of the episodes you have chef talking to Chef Joe Gatto from Joe Gatto from Scratch.com. You should check out the website, Joe Gattos, Gattos, Joe Gattos from Scratch.com. I got to make sure I get it right, sir. That's the key to a conversation like this. In episode number 3, you do hot dogs versus hamburgers.
Yeah.
Now, first, the idea of one making their own hot dog and casings and everything else. And when you have kids like mine who actually keep kosher, now you got to find a casing that isn't pork. And you got a whole thing ahead of you right there. So you end up buying, you don't make it. First, people can make their own hot dogs.
Oh yeah. I mean, we still do it. And look, that's not something you do all the time. That takes a while. I mean, you're grinding meat, you're emulsifying meat, you're stuffing meat. There's just a lot to it, but it was really fun because when we finished it and we stuffed them and we had all of those and then we smoked it and then we just finished them on the grill, they were absolutely the best hot dogs I've ever had. I mean, we ground homemade bacon into them and and then we made pretzel buns and we made mustard, and I would never do it all the time. It's a ton of work.
Yeah, well, grinding up bacon and then the casings is one of the reasons. 2 of the reasons.
The emulsification's actually the hard part. Like when you have to take all that meat you ground and freeze it, and then you have to whip it so you're aerating it, and it gets super. Man, that took forever. But like I said, it was absolutely out of this world. So I do it like occasionally for a party, but grinding your own beef for burgers, just do it.
Yeah. Now that much, if you can, I believe. And by the way, the emulsifying, is that a good smell?
Oh, it's lovely. I, I think my wife wants me to turn it into like a bathroom spray.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's telling us a lot about how the marriage is going, I guess. You brought up the hot dogs, you brought up the mustard. So on the show, we have a constant fight, Fingers Malloy and I, my co-host and also the co-author of Let's Go Barbecue, right there. Get it at Amazon.com. Let's Go Barbecue. Make it happen. Can you put ketchup on a hot dog? Chef, I ask you right now, as a grown man, can you put ketchup on a hot dog? Don't give me the answer you think I want to hear. Give me the honest answer. Ketchup on a hot dog, yes or no?
You can put anything you want on a goddamn hot dog, just like you can on your pizza.
That's right.
It doesn't affect me at all. You can slather that thing in mayo. You could put lard on it, and you could put it all over your body. I don't care. It's your hot dog. Do whatever you want. I honestly, like, that's one of the things I get asked all the time. Like, can you put pineapple on a pizza? I don't care what you do. I'm not going to eat it.
So wait, right. You're a personal no. You're not another person's no.
Right. I'm a no. Well, occasionally I do like ketchup on my hot dog now. I grew up that way.
Yep.
But not all the time. I prefer mustard. If I had to put if you put a gun to my head, I'd take mustard. Because
and relish is okay. Onions are okay.
I think onions are a must. Relish, I'm gonna take it or leave it on a relish. I'm not a huge relish guy. I never have been. My dad was a relish freak. He'd put that on everything.
I love it. And I grew up in Jersey, born in Brooklyn, grew up in Jersey. And there's a part of me that always thought it was an East Coast thing. And then I saw what they did in Chicago to hot dogs. I'm like, okay, clearly not. But there's something about that. It's pickle soup, as Fingers Malloy calls it. And I don't care. I just want to eat it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had hot dogs with every single thing you can imagine, from chili. I love a chili dog, right? So I mean, like, if you're putting chili on it and then you're scolding someone for ketchup, you need to look into yourself a little deeper, my friend.
Talking to Chef Joe Gatto. You can find him on Instagram at Chef Joe Gatto. I want to stick to the topic just for a minute. And it sounds silly, but there's really an interesting economics at play, which is, when you talk about making your own hot dog there, Chef. And when you go out, we go back to restaurants, you go out for a burger. We're at the stage now, depending on where you live, you can pay $12 to $14 for a burger.
Or more.
Or more. Agreed. For a burger. That's absolutely true. But that's for a burger. There's the fries and you're getting the drink extra. It's usually a side, whatever it is. You could not get anybody in all of America to pay $14 for a hot dog. You cannot do it. But if there's still work involved in creating the hot dog, you can create something that's a pound of actual beef. Something about that shape and that style says, I think maybe it's Costco's fault. It's supposed to be $1.50 in soda. Right. You can't get anybody to pay for it. Are there any other foods that you can think of where it's like, it doesn't matter how much work you put into it, you can't get Americans to spend that kind of money?
That's a great question, because I mean, back in the day, that's what sushi was, right? Sushi was looked upon as a low grade food. And, and now, right, it's so high end. That's a great point, because the hot dog, I think, is the poster child for that, right? Because no matter how you gussy it up, no one's going to pay for a hot dog. But I mean, ultimately, there's a lot more work in a hot dog than there is a burger. I mean, and you're grinding beef or you're grinding pork. It's strange, right? Because it's the reputation that precedes it.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens, that's it, right? It's like a reality star. They're just kind of like always got this weird vibe to them. They'll never actually be a star.
Right. They're the hot dogs are the puck of food.
So well played, my friend. Exactly. Exactly.
That was a real world reference, everybody.
Yeah.
That's how old school we are. Gen
Yep.
X for life right there. Before I let you go,
If I'm not mistaken.
that could have been San Francisco. That is absolutely right, sir. Before I let you go, the one thing people should be making at home that they are not. Go.
Pizza. Make your pizza at home. Okay, do a 72-hour dough. It's really easy to do, and you're just leaving it in your fridge to cold ferment. The dough comes out fantastic, way better than anything you can buy at the store. And then just, making pizza sauce at home is super easy because you don't have to cook it, right? That you cook it in the oven. So you only cook it in the oven when you cook the pizza. You never have to cook it, which is the key to that. And then you got, whatever you want to put on top of it, even pineapple if you want to. But I say make pizza at home. It's a super fun project. It's really easy to do, and it's customizable. And if you really want to go nuts like we do here, you can always pull your own fresh mozz, which is a super fun thing.
Chef Joe Gatto, the show, Joe Gatto's From Scratch. That's with an S in there. Joe Gatto's From Scratch.com. Check out the website. Find the show on Pluto TV. Chef, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Really do appreciate it. And don't forget to head over to eatdrinksmokeshow.com, eatdrinksmokeshow.com, and be a part of what we're doing. Be a part of Eat Drink Smoke Nation. I'd appreciate the daylights out of it. We will catch you next time. You take care.